And the commission has took up a vote a few weeks ago, motion 4-0 passed, I believe. And I want to thank President Harris, University of Oklahoma legal team, and everybody that they assembled, as well as our friends across the state line, all their work to get here today.
Excellent. Thank you, Speaker. Now I'd like to introduce some people that are in the room that were involved in the negotiations between Oklahoma and Texas. Representatives from the North Texas Municipal Water District in attendance include Executive Director and General Manager Jenna Covington. Welcome. Government Affairs and Special Projects Manager David Kelly. Welcome. Welcome to Oklahoma. And Attorney Mike Gershon. Welcome. President Harris, now I'd like to invite you to guide the board through the meeting packet, highlighting the key elements of the boundary amendment process and the progress reflected in the agreement.
All right, it's an honor to be before this group that gets together with such great frequency. And it's an unfortunate angle from my bald area in the back of my head right there. May have to work on that. This issue is one that has been around since the Fallon administration. And the speaker knew he was a great banker. Now I know he's also a great lawyer, walked through the issues that are really here today. And a lot of it is very simple. I mean, when you look at it, it's you swap parcels of land to put in place the necessary legal requirements for the water district to pump the water. But anytime you move a state line, you've got to make sure it is exactly right. So what I want to do is cover, as I did with the Boundary Commission, in a bit of formal detail, those elements so this review board is adequately informed. I'll reference a number of the tabbed items that are in the packet in front of you. A lot of work has gone into making sure that this is properly papered and documented to accomplish the objectives that were given to us. A number of national level experts in water, environmental law, interstate compact law, land surveying, and engineering disciplines provided remarkable detail to analyze and clarify the boundary adjustments that impact on those key issues that were assigned to us by the chair of the Boundary Commission. That is, what is the impact on land ownership, on water rights, and on tribal interests, if any. The North Texas Municipal Water District has been an incredible partner in all of this from day one. They have covered all the costs that are attached to this, and they provided as part of this $10 million to Oklahoma as a way to resolve and make sure these boundary adjustments take place and that this pump station is fully at the conclusion of this within the state of Texas at the end of this. These agreements were negotiated and executed to accomplish this. There are two agreements. One, which is not before this group, but you should know about, is the $10 million. The Contingency Review Board does not have to approve that, but it is in the packet. The second, which is the subject for consideration today, is the amended and restated Texoma Area Boundary Agreement, which is submitted to you all, and I'll cover a bit more here. Pursuant to state statute, to 74 OS 6106, approval is being sought. It would finalize this amendment of the Red River Boundary Compact and specifically amend the boundary in the Lake Texoma area as specified in here. The first resolution to look at is at tab 4. Tab 4 is the North Texas Municipal Water District Resolution number 24-42 and addendum number 2466 or 6060. And what this does is it shows the approval by the North Texas Municipal Water District of the agreements with the Red River Boundary Commission and the Water District to amend the boundary line in the Lake Texoma area. And it also authorizes the payment of the $10 million and the costs that go with that. This past October 9th, just a few weeks ago, and I would note prior to the OU Texas football game, the Red River Boundary Commission met and entered into its approval That is on tab 5. And at tab 5, what you'll find is the amended and restated Texoma area boundary agreement. It amends the boundary near the Lake Texoma pump station, and it will ensure that this pump station, which is currently partially within Oklahoma, will be entirely located within Texas. And this is probably the most important part for Oklahomans and anyone that is concerned about this. And that is, this boundary change will not affect any land ownership, water rights, or tribal rights. That's worth restating. This action, if approved today, and the action taken by the Boundary Commission, and it will not affect land ownership, water rights, or tribal rights. If you'll look at tab 7, this illustrates the change that's taking place. It's a map, and it shows two areas. It shows two areas that are both exactly 1.34 acres that are being exchanged as a part of this between Texas and Oklahoma to affect this. Tab 7 is an illustration of it, and this illustrates the adjustment to the territorial limits between Oklahoma and Texoma on the Lake Texoma area. And again, this swap is exactly 1.34 acres. And happy to cover any part of that, and we can go back to any part of these. The next element is behind tab 6, and that's the agreement.
So when you say it doesn't affect any land or water rights, so what are we
So
exchanging?
it's interesting. It's in the lake.
Okay.
Submerged, right?
Yeah, it's submerged,
Okay.
which is not intuitive. So when you originally drew the boundary for every area that's not in Lake Texoma, the vegetation line takes care of it. But when Lake Texoma was filled up, you then can't see those boundary lines, right? And so this station, this pump station, is in the water. And so when we say it's not going to affect any land rights, there are no land rights being impacted. It's just that 1.34 acres that is inside of Texoma and around. Yeah, great question. The one I should have clarified. If we'll then turn to tab 5. I'm sorry, we've already been to tab 5. Go to tab 6. Tab 6 is the agreement on the Oklahoma-Texas state boundary, Texoma area boundary, and the water district's Lake Texoma pump station. This is the agreement that is not being submitted to the 4 of you all today. This is the one, though, that contains the $10 million and the covering of the costs, all being borne by the water district. So again, this, I want to make sure you're aware of it, that part of this transaction, while you're not approving it, is this $10 million. And in section 2 of this agreement behind
Why
tab
don't we
6,
approve that as part of this deal?
it's not required under the statutory authority that's necessary to affect these agreements by the Red River Boundary Commission. So
But
we
it is
looked at
part of the deal.
it is 100% part of the deal. It is one of the 2 primary documents. They're both in here that allow for the boundary exchange and the designation of that. And then separately, and that includes the 1.34 acres being swapped. And the second
When you
component.
say swap, we're going to take land under the water somewhere else?
Yes. Yeah. And so when we look behind tab 7 and you look at those two, those 2 areas, you can see. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And again, when looking under section 2 of tab 6, that lays out the 10 million plus the expenses. The tab 8 is the resolutions that reflect the Red River Boundary Commission's adoption and final approval of these 2 agreements, Governor, as you inquired. And so what is being proposed to you is the resolution behind tab 9. So 8 is what the Red River Boundary Commission approved, and behind tab 9 is the proposed resolution for the Contingency Review Board. And I'm happy to answer any questions after that rough summary.
Excellent. Thank you.
One question, point of clarification, just to make sure everybody understands. Even though you're saying that this commission does not have to approve the $10 million, it is subject to the deal going through.
Without a doubt. I think the
And
water
I,
district.
and I
would
think
agree
I
with
saw
that.
it within the documents themselves,
That's correct.
that it was contingent upon that component.
Yes, and with your approval, I'd like to ask anyone from the water district that wants to clarify anything I've said to make a clarification.
You've done a great job of presenting. If there's any questions, we're happy to answer. Lay it out.
Is Abbott going to personally deliver the $10 million to me?
Do you want small unmarked bills or?
If I could ask, so when I first got involved in this, I was concerned because I knew there had been the Supreme Court case in the 20s or whatever that went to the vegetation line. It was pretty adversarial at that time. And so I wanted to make sure we didn't pervert that in any way, shape, or form. I think in reading the documents and understanding, Senator McCourtney participated and kept me briefed the entire time. Just a very nuanced question. I think when people go and fish on Lake Texoma, they're required to have both Oklahoma and Texas, or are there parts that you only have to have one license, and will it be clearly marked out for our highway patrol and others who do lake patrol?
That's a great question. I do not know the answer to that. You think as many people are over here could answer that, but I have no idea what the answer to that question is.
Google it real quick. I believe that you can have either, but I'll look it up.
I know when I've been striper fishing that we didn't go south beyond a certain part, but that may have been outdated regulation before. I just want to make sure we don't create confusion.
Yeah, to me, so a ton of legal work has, I mean, we truly contracted with the water law expert in this country, who's with Stanford and one of the top water law firms in the country. This wouldn't affect any other existing rights except for the exchange of those two properties and the redrawing of the boundary to affect that.
If either permit, I'm supportive of what you've achieved here. I just want to make sure we don't have an unintended consequence. If either permit works, that's not
I
probably.
can tell you that whatever existed before is going to exist after this. This will not impact this. This literally takes those 1.34 acre land plots that are behind tab 7 and exchanges those, but doesn't affect any other rights that exist. And one of the biggest concerns and why it's lasted since the Fallon administration is you have to be so specific in modifying the boundary. And so it is only a boundary modification with the $10 million payment and the covering of costs, but no other rights, obligations, no other boundary components are affected.
Mr. Pro Tem, quick Google search appears that there is a Lake Texoma specific license issued by the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department, and my assumption would be also the Oklahoma Department of Recreation and Tourism.
Thank you.
So it might have just been affinity and judgment that kept you on the Oklahoma
It
side.
probably was, yes.
Mr.
Or the
President.
fishing guide was not licensed down there or something.
Mr. President, you mentioned that it doesn't impact water rights. I know one of the concerns that I had heard raised was that maybe this would somehow, open the door or create possibilities for Texas to purchase water from Oklahoma. Does this affect
No.
those rights at all?
It's a great question. And one of the first things that Speaker McCall, as chairman of this committee, wanted to make clear is, and he said, as we go through this, take a look at any water rights, will this in any way impact or give additional rights to Texas over Oklahoma, to pump more, to take more, to do any of those things? And the answer is this in no way changes what has been the steady state before this. And it's a really important point, one that we spent the first few meetings really drilling down on to make sure that if this, it just seems so easy to do it. The question was, what are the unintended consequences? And the number one unintended consequence was, does this give Texas, North Texas Municipal Water District, or anyone else greater rights to the water than existed before? And the answer is no, it does not. It also, and I probably didn't emphasize it enough, it also doesn't affect land ownership as discussed because of the unique nature of where this exists. And it also doesn't trigger any tribal interest or infringe on any tribal interests. So, the length of this exercise, and how long it took to arrive here, and the costs that have been incurred bringing in the best in each of these categories, were all to make sure that these four questions that appeared to be simple that no one could come back and say that members of the Red River Boundary Commission, or in this case, this group, that we missed something clear and obvious. And all of the work and due diligence signals no additional water rights, no water right issues, no tribal issues, and no land issues that will take place, and that the redrawing of this boundary of the 1.34 acre swap inside of Texoma to redefine the boundary in no way affects other rights.
Mr. President, if I may add, the Texas Red River Boundary Commission has acted on this several years ago. Part of the law governing the Texas Commission requires them to submit a report to the governor and the legislature of Texas. We have agreed with the chairman of that commission at the request of the speaker and president that report to the Texas legislature will also stipulate that there are no water rights impacts, and the state of Texas acknowledges that.
Yeah.
Perfect, thank
It's a
you.
really important question.
Thank you.
This is the most controversial issue in my part of the state, especially in my House district, and ensuring that any actions that the commission would take or this board would take today, we've really tried to run. We had to be 100% sure. I mean, we've even gone to the extent the House also employed its own counsel to review everything. I didn't mention it earlier, but want to thank Christina Phillips, who has been involved in a lot of water issues in the southern part of the state, has reviewed the process and the solution as well. So I'm very confident today that being at this point, Mr. President, I appreciate all the work you've done.
That's a joy.
But we had to get this one right. And I feel like you're telling this board it's right.
It's right.
ready.
No, that's the key. You made it clear from the beginning. When you told me I was going to volunteer to do this, you know, that was it. You made it clear. There's a reason it hasn't been done for this long. It's because it takes real time, it takes real effort, it takes real energy, and all of the questions have to be answered. And I feel like that this process absolutely satisfies that.
Thank you.
Governor, I would move that we approve the proposed resolution found on tab 9.
Thank you, Pro Tem. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Is there any other further discussion? Please call the roll.
Speaker McCall,
Yes.
Pro Tem Treat,
Yes.
Governor Stitt.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Seeing no other business, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I don't know. This is kind of like my last official meeting.
You think?
Or are we having another one?
In all seriousness, we did get an email about some agency or board wanting to add FTEs. You're not going to pull that up in this before Charles and I are gone, are you?
No.
Okay.
No. So there's a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Thanks for coming up.
Hey, what an honor. Seriously, thank you.